And we are live. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Wolf. Welcome to another podcast. We got Wolf Crypto and Wolf Financial colliding here for an awesome conversation. Talk about the FIRE ETFs, which are Financial Independence Retire Early FIRE. Love that we are joined by Mike Venuto. And Mike, it's great to have you. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. I actually just got off another show with you guys on Yieldback, so it's Wolf Day for me.
Oh yeah. Ev, how's it going on your end of things?
Everything's great. I just had a great conversation with Mike on Spaces, but getting to see a face and getting to dive in a little bit more to FIRE, talk to a little bit more of a crowd here, kind of bridging things together. I'm excited for this conversation, Cade.
Let's do it. So, Mike, if you could introduce us a little bit of, give some context and some background for people who are unfamiliar with FIRE ETFs.
Sure.
What you guys do.
So, FIRE ETFs are ETFs that we designed to help the folks that believe in financial independence retire early, achieve those goals. So we built one FIRS to help people save, call it our wealth builder, ultra diversified portfolio. And then we built one for income, targets, uses things like the Yield Max ETFs as well as others, combines them to target a yield and distribute that and really protect the NAV. Those are kind of two phases of the FIRE movement, right? In terms of your investing journey, the growing your nest egg and then living off of it. And I just love the whole movement. My day job is title, right? We help people launch, grow, and operate ETFs. And I saw the FIRE movement from people in the Yield Max community, right? A lot of them were using it. And I said, oh, what if I could put these things together for them and really connect with the FIRE community? And then as a benefit to the clients of the title platform, we basically make these ETFs as a fund to fund. So they primarily own title ETF client funds. Therefore, title doesn't charge a fee for it. There's no management fee. There's just acquired fund fees. FIRE people are pretty fee conscious. So that was the idea. That's the short version. I'm excited to be out there preaching it. It gives me a platform from which I can talk about funds from and really engage with people.
Amazing. And I was actually going to pull it up here on the screen so that people could see. Pretty sleek website as well.
Yeah.
Straight to the point. Let me know if you guys can see it. Mike, are you able to see the screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Cool.
Our designer, Jared, is spectacular.
Designer Jared.
Yeah. I mean, I love that he took that F and he gave it that feeling of a flag, that freedom feeling, because that's the real important part here. It's not really like the retire early is kind of an old idea. The retire early is thinking like you're working like a dog until you're 75. It's more having a gig and having a thing you care about and being able to be creative and having passive income. And it's more the freedom that I care about.
Definitely. Yeah, I love the design there. And you guys got the Wealth Builder ETF, and you guys have the Income Target ETF as well.
Yep.
I would love to dive in on these ETFs and kind of the thought process behind it. But Mike, I want to ask first on when it comes to FIRE, the FIRE movement, and kind of this new version of it, because you said the idea of retire early has been around forever, but when it comes to this kind of new movement, there's like a 4% number in here that people talk about a lot. Can we just dive in a little bit further to what the general idea is of FIRE as a whole?
Yeah, so it's been around about 20 years, but it's become more and more popular. And the first phase is about saving as much as possible, right? Because the FIRE movement really thinks of money in terms of time, not in terms of materialistic cups of coffee or whatever you need. They don't buy new cars, right? They don't live in super expensive places. They really go out of their way to buy time for the future. And most of them in that investing journey really try and keep it simple. It's almost too simple. It's like VTI and chill. Right? They buy the Vanguard Total Market Index, or they buy that Schwab fund that everybody likes. It's low cost, and they just don't do anything else. I believe that works if you're 20 years to FIRE, to the point where you're going to start taking money out. I don't believe it works if you're 5 years away. I don't believe it works for certain lost decades. So we tried to build with the FIRS, the Wealth Builder, a much more diversified portfolio, right? So it's not a replacement for VTI. It's not going to keep up with VTI in the up years, right? The major up years. But, the drawdown on this portfolio this year was like 2% when the stock market dropped 20. And that's because it's massively diversified, right? So it's based off of this theory that's been around 30, 40 years by this man named Harry Brown. Harry was like a libertarian. He ran, I think he tried to be president, but he wrote this book in the 70s called Fail-Safe Investing. And it was this theory that you need a core portfolio that can really work in any environment. And he kind of looked at 4 environments and said, these are the 4 primary situations for the market. Number 1, a bull market, a prosperous market. There you got to own equities. So there we own things like Tom Lee's Granny Shots or Joel Greenblatt's GVLU. We own Meb Faber's fund in there. We own the DARP guys, the Disruption at a Reasonable Price. So we look for really cool equity portfolios. And we have some beta. We have SFY, which is SoFi's 500. That's our low cost beta, 5 bips. So that's one component. That's for when things are going well. Then you got a component for when things are going poorly, which is hedges and cash alternatives. So in there we have various different cash-like funds or short-term fixed income. We also have a tail risk fund in there. So like it basically buys 10 years treasuries and puts on the market. So you're kind of paying for the puts. And then when the bad thing happens, you got a nice chunk of money and you rebalance the portfolio. You take the money out of the tail fund and you put it into the equities. Then you have these other 2 parts, which is a deflationary environment and an inflationary environment. We didn't have inflation for like 30, 40 years, so everybody forgot about it. But, we all just got smacked in the face and reminded, and maybe in an hour, we're going to find out more. So in there, I have Bitcoin, I have gold, I have residential real estate, I have managed futures. We have a fund with Jerry Parker. The Bitcoin and gold fund we did with David Jacansky, it's in there. It's BTGD. $1 gets you $1 of gold and $1 of Bitcoin. So I get the capital efficiency. All that stuff is what saved us during the April drop off, right? Because Bitcoin continued to rally and gold rallied like you wouldn't, like it was like, why is gold behaving better than Bitcoin? What's going on? And then the last bucket is deflation, which we did have for a long time. And we had this bond rally for years, right? And in there's the longer term bonds. We have a fund in there that I like called VETS, which is loans to veterans. So it's home loans and student loans and business loans to veterans, longer duration. It's just a cool way to play it. So that's how diversified it is. It's all these amazing different components, and you basically 25% in each. And when one gets too big, you rebalance it. We're in this unique position at Tidal to manage these fire funds because these are all our managers, right? There's a few funds in there that aren't ours because we don't have everything. Like we don't have a pure gold fund. We only have a gold and Bitcoin fund. So I needed a little extra gold, but we have access to these managers. We come on your shows with them. Actually, next week I'm bringing Tom Lee to speak with us about fire and how Granny Shots fits into it and his secular theme. So that access puts us in a great position to be able to do all these things. So that's the one side of the movement. The other side you're asking is, okay, now I've hit my number. There's always been this 4% rule, but the 4% rule was really not thinking of taking 4% income. It was selling 4% each year and taking that out. I don't like that idea. So I said, can I take Yield Max and Defiance and Sophie's Data, Nicholas's funds, put them all together and make a portfolio that yields at least 4%, but tries to keep the NAV steady. And we've done pretty good with it so far, although we're yielding a little more than 4% because there's been so much volatility this year. I've gotten the options funds have kicked it out. So it's funny that people in this era, 4% sounds like nothing to people now. But it's a little different, right? It's meant to be a barbell of safety and diversified, and I've got commodity exposure in there. I've got, I'm using the boring yield max funds because I want hedges, right? So I have XOMO in there. I've got YBIT in there. I've got GDXY in there because I want the hedges for keeping that principal in. So yeah, I feel like I talked a bunch. So.
Oh, it was great. I want to ask one quick follow-up just to explain this here. Essentially, these ETFs are a fund of funds, right? So, and you kind of hinted at it there a little bit, but there's a whole bunch of other ETFs, and one that I think Cade, and especially Cade's audience over there with the crypto side of things, we talk about, the inflationary risk and the constant money printer that keeps going. So like one thing that I know that you guys have in there is that Bitcoin and gold fund, which it's in FIRS. If anybody's wanting to look up that ticker FIRS, there's right there on the website. Cade, you can even jump in there.
Yeah, why don't we show, because I love being able to show that transparency.
Sure.
So in FIRS, we have BTGD. In FIRI, we have YBIT, which is selling covered calls on it. But yeah, if you scroll down, you can actually see the holdings.
Right there.
And then you can download the whole ones if you want. This to me is so cool about ETFs, and I like to personally take it even a step further. All my personal accounts that are not 401k are on public, which everybody could see them. And then I'm also have them on Blossom. So I can say I'm also an investor in Blossom. I really believe in what they're doing. But not only can you see what I own in these funds, you can see what I own personally. And, if you go to Blossom, you'll see 40% of my money is in this fund, 30% is in the other one, and the rest is in more speculative things. And that's how I've set myself up. I want the income to help me buy the speculative things, and I want that 40% that I know isn't going to go away. It's going to survive the volatility. I'm not going to have a panic moment.
Oh, that is awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah, and I love this about ETFs as well. And if you're looking for the income builder as well, the income target, this also is down here. If you guys want to check that out on the site, highly recommend it. Should have all the details down there. If you're on X, you can just click on their accounts, and then it'll take you there. You can go to their site. If you're on YouTube, just go down to the description. You can check out all this information to learn more. And I'm sure you can reach out and ask questions if you have them. But yeah, this is awesome stuff. And didn't know if you had a follow-up to this.
Yeah, so I just was, Mike, the fund of funds, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, all these fund managers as well inside of these, but you've basically said, hey, look, we have a bunch of great funds here, but we also have a great idea with the different buckets and trying to help people be able to not only diversify their portfolios, but a lot of people look at this stuff, they're like, I need to own gold, and this person said I need to own Bitcoin. This person says I need to, have some mortgage-backed securities, whatever it is. How do I construct my portfolio around it? And in this case, we have a whole team of professionals that are going to do it for you. And then beyond that, you said, okay, I've got 10 professionals here that are each running a strategy and a fund. I'm just going to create a fund of funds here. You
got it. That's the magic. And then, we can use them for resources to get understanding of things. And it helps me, I'm not doing this completely altruistically, right? Like I believe in the FIRE movement. I believe in the education. Those are my primary reasons. But from a business perspective, this helps my clients grow as well. And if they grow, that's good for me. And it helps me be able to introduce them how do I get Tom Lee to come talk to us, right? It's going to be great. We did one where, Med Faber is explaining all kinds of things to individual investors. It just gives us this soapbox to talk from. It's so hard with financial regulations. It's like you can't give advice. Well, here I can, because my advice is, here's how I structured a portfolio for myself. And this is how I want to do it. That's my advice, right? Here's that's it.
It's also interesting. The one thing that you guys are all about is the transparency side of things. So not only you mentioned you're on public Blossom, but also any question that I've seen come up, I've actually seen, because I'm sure people will watch this and maybe have some questions. They'll start diving in. I know I had a ton. And since I've been able to speak with you for a month or more now on a regular basis, I have a question every week still. And you guys are very transparent about all this. And I think that's the other big key here is that you guys aren't just saying, hey, here's a product, go buy our product. It's like, hey, here's everything we're doing. And I know a lot of people even dig into all the trades and the moves that are happening in these rebalances, and they all see it too.
Absolutely. I think Wall Street has run away from the do-it-yourself investor, and title wants to embrace it. There's rules. We got to, I think the transparency helps me be able to do it, right? Because, all these rules out there are about disclosure, and I'd rather be ultra transparent and not have anything to hide. Whereas, these big firms, sometimes they're trading against you, and they have multiple different departments, and maybe one department's all there for you. It has this woke ESG kind of mindset, and then there's this other department over here that's scalping you on your trades, right? So like, we are not your traditional asset management firm because we're not an asset manager. We're a platform that helps other people launch, grow, and operate ETFs. The FIRE ETFs are just putting that together. I've been managing these strategies as separately managed accounts for 13 years. So it's not like I just said, okay, this is how I've been approaching FIRE. Let me stick it in an ETF wrapper, make it a little more tax efficient, and see if anybody else is interested. Interest has been good, but slow. We got some creates the other day in the income one. There's a credit union that has signed up to use it as like their core for their folks, which I think makes a lot of sense, right? Like it's kind of a package portfolio, and people in credit unions, they don't tend to get the high financial advice that they deserve. So this kind of packages it for them.
Yeah, I love that part. Cade, as you're getting introduced to the FIRE, I know you've understood the FIRE movement. I know you've dove into that a little bit before, but as you're kind of seeing the idea here, the ETF fund of funds, what Mike and his team are doing, what questions would you have, or what kind of early thoughts do you have to throw in?
Well, two questions came to mind. One of them was kind of curious in some of the lessons you picked up along the way, doing all these things for so many years now, and some of the bits of advice that kind of come to mind. But also, I come and have a lot of crypto conversations, and so a lot of Bitcoiners, and it's interesting because a lot of the Bitcoiners are also gold bugs, or at least they understand gold. But by far we have people who are just trading all markets. But speaking to more of like the crypto side, do you have anything that kind of comes to mind that you think might be a good learning point, or a place that some of the crypto people who are looking to diversify their portfolio can maybe look into? Is there anything you could speak to, I guess, on that front towards a more crypto audience? By the way, I think, and I don't know if it's just me, but I can see Mike frozen.
Mike's a little bit frozen, and okay. I really wanted.
Oh wait,
he's coming back a little bit.
I've seen little bits of him. I didn't know if it was my Puerto Rican Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I got glitched here.
Okay, there you go. He's back.
I got the general gist though, because I've asked this a lot as I've been meeting with the FIRE community, what they think about crypto, and it seems like 9 out of 10 of them are like, VTI. Don't say anything else to me other than VTI, right? And then there's always this 10th guy in the room who's like, VTI, I just YOLO'd into Bitcoin 10 years ago, and I'm worth I've way past my FIRE number, and he's always trying to orange pill a bunch of them. I don't try and orange pill anybody anymore, but I looked at it and said Bitcoin needs to be in the FIRE community's portfolio. So rather than like go and try and get them to do it themselves, I packaged it in here into these ETFs. Right. Like, it gives me an opportunity to discuss it with them and show them how it fits and all that. But the diehards, the 90%, the Rick Ferries, the Bogleheads, no, they're not even going to think about it. Which is just so unfortunate, because the values align, right? It's that freedom from the system, right? And I don't think that they've been, for some reason in the FIRE community, they don't talk about the money printer. like, what good is VTI if it's being priced in dollars that are declining every day? So I think it's just a different conversation. And the way I've approached it is not, let me tell you about Bitcoin. It's more, let me tell you about how Bitcoin fits in this portfolio that can help you achieve your goals.
Wow. I didn't know your perspective on Bitcoin, and I was actually going in more the direction. Was there anything you could speak towards a crypto audience about what you guys have at Fire ETFs? But it was actually fairly interesting to me. I had no idea you were so deep in like the Bitcoin camp. And
I'm the first successful ETF on the Tidal platform was Block, and I'm still the co-portfolio manager of it. So we know we were with Sailor in 2020. So
wow.
And like even before we launched Misty, I got to sit down with him and explain what we're doing and how we're doing it. And so yeah, I'm pretty deep in crypto. I've been in the Bitcoin world since 2015.
Okay. Wow. Very nice. What was it, that initial thing that got you in so early on?
So at that time, I said the first successful ETF was Block. The first ETF was this one called TETF, which was an ETF that tracked all the companies in the ETF industry. So State Street, BlackRock, Wisdom Tree, Virtue. We thought it was our best idea ever. And it didn't work. It took it was out there for like 2 or 3 years. And somebody, I think it was Fox Business or Market Watch, I'm in an interview and they asked me, hey, Mike, what could threaten the ETF industry? And at the time I was reading a little bit about Bitcoin and blockchain, and I started to understand it. And I said, blockchain, someday there'll be blockchain traded funds or tokens. And they laughed at me. And I was like, oh, this is my aha moment.
Wow.
And I just got it. And then, back then we had more of a private wealth business. That's where we use these SMAs. I started doing 2% position in GBTC, and all of a sudden it's 5. And I was like, all right, let me take it back down to 2. No, it's 5 again. No, take it back down to 2. I mean, it was unbelievable. In 2015, seeing go from 800 to 4,000 or 5,000. And then I was like, okay, this is not just a number anymore. I need to understand the tech better. And that's when we came up with the idea to launch Block, which was our first platform partnership with Amplify.
Wow.
So today we also manage $1 billion blockchain portfolio, and now right now the biggest position is Metaplanet, and it's doing the same thing to us, right? Every day it's going through our limit and we're having to pull it back down. So we're all the downward pressure on Metaplanet.
Dang. All right. I had no idea. And by the way, Emp, I know you have to bounce here potentially in the next 2 minutes, correct?
I do. Yeah,
we're things coming.
Mike, what about you? Are you thinking you want to bounce as well?
Yeah, I think that's probably in my best interest, because I got to get prepared for all this volatility. So
sure.
I do want to thank you guys.
You want to leave?
Yeah, the FIRE movement is about freedom. The whole concept, I'm just offering an investment part to it and in a conversation, but it's a life. And some of us are forced into it. Like, entrepreneurs are often forced into it, right? The first 6 years of building this company, I basically had no income, and I learned the hard parts of this. Giving up stuff shouldn't be hard, though, right? The key to it is finding the 2 or 3 things that you really care about and spend your money on those things. And you'll find all those other little things just don't freaking matter. So to me, that's the more important part. It's not about giving up things. It's about embracing what you really care about.
Love that. And any final parting words before we wrap here?
I just gonna say I always like talking to Mike. Wealth of information, what their team's doing across FIRE and all the other things. It's fantastic. It's something I think everyone should put it on their radar. We don't want to obviously recommend anyone just go buy something, but we want to bring you the fund managers. We want to bring you the smart people behind the scenes and say, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's the motivation behind it. And I think this is a good launching point for people to dive in. Go check out the FIRE ETFs. There's actually some great articles. If you go on the website, just scroll down about 2 clicks. you'll see some really good articles where you can start reading as well. So go check out the fireetfs.com and start there. I mean, that's my parting piece. Yeah, right there.
Exactly.
Check out some of those articles, and several of these people that you see, Dan right there, for example, on the right side of your screen, he's been on our space multiple times as well. But you can go read these articles and basically get informed on everything that's going on. And I just want to say thanks to Mike for coming on and chatting with us today.
Absolutely.
Right on,
Thank you,
right on.
everybody.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for catching us here at Wolf. Catch you guys all in the next one. Be sure to give Mike a follow and go check out everything that they're doing on the Fire ETFs. We'll catch you guys all in the next one. Take care, everybody.